Welcome to the Getting Real with Hillary show, where ordinary heroes tell extraordinary stories during unique and never been heard before conversations with your host, Hillary Arno Burns. Hillary's unique listening and way of asking questions results in conversations that aren't usually talked about, so you can create the life that you really want but are afraid you can't really have. We are demonstrating the greatness in the human spirit and creating a world where we all reclaim our birthright of joy, happiness, purpose, and passion. Now, here's your host, Hillary Arno Burns. Welcome to the Getting Real with Hillary show, and today we have a very special guest. We have Kelly Kirk, who is the founder of 222 Muscle Sophia Graham Foundation, which you'll hear all about today. He's also a bodybuilder, which you will be able to tell. He's a teacher, a speaker, and a coach, and a very, very special guy who's making a huge difference with a lot of people. So welcome, Kelly.
Hello. Thank you.
Hi, it's nice to see you.
Good to see you.
Okay, so the listeners, you'll hear all about his foundation, but first, and what he's doing now. But first, we want to give you a little bit of a background as to why he's doing it. And if you want to tell your story, Kelly, I know you've told it many times, but there are people who haven't heard it yet. So go ahead.
Yeah. In a nutshell, I had a pretty easy, for lack of a better word, life kind of growing up. Great family life. Everything just always kind of seemed to feel like it broke my way, whether it was in sports or education, college. If there was a job I wanted, I went and got it. Just things that went really well. And when I turned mid 30s, I guess, two of my best friends that I grew up with and I decided we were going to start a gym. That was our kind of one of our dreams. We wanted to own our own gym, own our own business. And we ventured out in it, literally put everything that we owned, our houses, our money, our savings, you name it, into starting this business. And the business struggled. 2 years after the business opened, my 11 and 12-year-old nephew and niece, my brother's kids, my brother was divorced and his wife was remarried, and her husband brutally murdered both the kids and his ex-wife. And I was 40, I guess, at this time. The gym had been open for a few years. It was probably the first time in my life where definitely something tragic had happened, but at the same time that I was struggling with the gym and financially and all this stuff was going on. About 2 months after the kids passed away, my mom passed away, and we think that was just to go, be with Brittany and Connor. And about 30 days after that, my dad was diagnosed with a stage 4 glioblastoma, a brain tumor, and he lived about a year after that. But just all this stuff kind of going on, and death and loss and everything around it. At the same time, the gym was struggling, and my partners and I were, at odds. And it was the first time again. Now I don't have you losing both your parents in that short of a time, plus the tragedy with the kids was a lot. And it was the first time that I got to see this gym community, the people in the gym and the people that I was working out with that were clients of mine that were paying me, but they were also, you realize friends. They were people that were looking at this whole fitness and working out thing as something more than, I want to have a six-pack kind of thing. Fast forward a little bit past that, and my two best friends and I that own the gym, we had a falling out. I didn't like the way the business was being run, and I walked away from it. That was the last time that I saw them. We've been friends since we were 14 years old. Words were said. We just didn't agree with kind of the way things were being done, and I walked away. And that was, another big loss kind of right there in my family. So I just went from, growing up and having all this stuff going on and feeling very blessed and very lucky to all of a sudden just, getting dumped on.
And what was the main disagreement? Do you mind saying?
yeah, just the way the business was run and money was handled. The business was struggling. This was, coming out of the economy bubble back in 2000, 11, 12. And I didn't agree with the way they were running things, and didn't agree with the way I wanted to run things. So I left, and I still wanted the gym. I called corporate, and they said, if you really want it, hang on, because they're probably not going to make it. And when they lose it, if you have the money together, you can buy it back. And we had $1.5 million loan through the SBA. So I started putting money together and getting things ready, knowing that this gym was going to come back to me. And about a year later, maybe 10 and a half months later, they lost the gym. And the corporate called and said, do you want it? I said, absolutely, I'll take it. And I went back in and took it over. And it was really, in retrospect, it was too far gone. It had a bad reputation. It had a bad lease. The equipment was getting old. It was a bad business decision, for me to go back in. But that was kind of what I wanted. That was my dream. That was what I was working for. Through the course of that, we just kept struggling and kept struggling. And I owned it by myself for about 3 years. And towards the end of the third year, I was in a relationship. We had broken up. We didn't see eye to eye. The stress of the money and the business and me working, 100 hours a week was too much. And the business was going down. And one day, a new member walked in, which I had thought at the time was just to buy a membership. It turns out it was to actually meet me. And it was Sophia. And she had come in, said she wanted the gym membership. I took her on a tour, and I'm showing her the equipment, and this is how this works, and this works your bicep, and this works. She knew all of this. She was playing me more than I was, playing her. Really? That's how that is? I didn't know that.
Now, how did she know you to come find you?
Because I actually work for the IFBB and the NPC, the people that run bodybuilding shows like the Mr. Olympia and Arnold and all that. I work for that company. So I expedite shows, about 15 shows during the year. And I've done the Mr. Olympia 2 or 3 times now also. So she had been to one of those shows, and she was interested in it and saw me there, and then found out that I owned the gym. So it's funny because, like I said, I was like, ooh, here's this cute little girl coming in here. Let me show her my. She was working me the whole time.
And how old was she at that time?
22, and 22? I was 40. 20, well, 40, no, 30. We're 25 years difference. So
30, 37, no, 47? How many years different?
25.
All right, let me do a little math here. 47. You were 47. Yeah. Wow. Hey.
So
doesn't matter.
That it would have been, I guess. It's been. I'm trying to look at the math because it just came up. So it's been just over 10 years since we met. So I was 40. I guess I was 45, and she was 22.
Okay.
So her and I started hanging out, and she started helping with the gym and just, how do we make it successful and what do we do? And again, the gym was struggling, but I was seeing this gym community of people that were members that just absolutely loved what we did. And everybody was just pitching in and trying to help out. We moved locations and stuff like that. And she and I started dating, and probably 5-6 months after that, I ended up losing the gym. The gym went out of business. I just couldn't keep it open anymore. It was a hard decision to make. The powers that be at corporate said, let it go. You're not the first person that's a good person to lose a business. It doesn't mean, you're a failure. It just means the business failed. And that was very hard for me to kind of comprehend.
So were your expenses too high? You didn't have enough members? Like, what was?
Yeah,
was the
all of the
loan too
above.
much? Like, what was the problem?
The loan was actually okay. I had paid the loan off at this point, but it was a bad lease. The rent was too expensive, and we just didn't have the members to be able to cover it. We would fight with our landlords. Our landlords wasn't happy. We had too much parking. We were too noisy. It was a bad deal kind of all the way around. So Powerhouse Corporate had said, just, let it go. And it's a great family that owns the business overall. He said, if you ever want another one, I'll help you get one. And I said, okay. And I walked away from it. And when I did, I lost everything. I had put everything into it, and I walked away and literally lost everything. I was embarrassed. I was, upset. I ended up lying to literally everybody about where I was and what I was doing. I ended up living in my car at a rest stop for about 3 months. And I was driving a smart car, so it wasn't like it was something big that I had a lot of room to stretch out in. So, and my friends would call or text and, hey, are you doing okay? What's going on? Where are you living? And I'd say, oh, I'm staying with my brother and sister. My brother and sister would call, you doing okay? Where are you living? Oh, I'm staying with a friend. I was embarrassed. I didn't want to tell anybody that I had failed, that the business failed. Like I said, Powerhouse had told me, the owners there, it doesn't mean you're a failure. It just means the business failed. And I didn't see it that way. To me, I failed. And I let, 2,000 members down. I didn't see any way out of it. And
now, where was Sophia during all this? Did she know you were living in your car?
yes, he was about the only one that really knew.
So you couldn't stay with her or anything?
No, she was renting a room from a family. She was, just kind of starting out on her own, so really wasn't in a position. There were nights I would sneak over and come in a window and, let me come in here and stay tonight. But for the most part, she was about the only one that knew. And she was the only one who believed in me. There were probably more people that would have had I given anybody that opportunity, but I didn't. I didn't believe in myself, and I didn't think anybody else should either. And she just kept saying, baby, you'll be okay. You can figure this out. You can go get another job. What do you want to do? She was just so supportive. And about a month, I don't know, a couple months, I guess, after, I was living in my car, a friend of mine owned a gym not far from here. And he and I were talking, and, he said, I know things are tough. He said, are you working out at all now? And I said, no. I said, I don't have the $25 for a gym membership. I said, I haven't been training. And he said, well, I'll tell you what. He said, I will give you and Sophia a gym membership, but the only way I'm going to give you a membership is if you promise to use it. And I said, well, yeah, what do you mean? And he said, well, a lot of times, you give somebody something and they don't think it's that important. They don't use it. I'll give you one if you use it. I said, I will be there tomorrow. So he comped us 2 memberships, and at 4:30 the next morning, I came over and picked up Sophia, and we started going to the gym together twice a day, morning, and then again when she would get off work. And little by little, my physical started getting better. I started losing a little bit of weight, feeling a little bit better. There's so much science behind working out, and the endorphins and the serotonin levels and the different things that happen, when you actually exercise. And 6 months later, as my physical got better, lo and behold, my mental got better. And I went from living in my car where I was just done. I mean, there were, I know at least one occasion where I literally sat in my car and thought, how do I end this? I'm done. This isn't what I want to do. I had never dealt with anything like that in my life before. I just didn't see a way out. I did not see a way out, financially, socially, in any way. And I was just done. So once we started working out, I could start to see a little bit of glimmer of, hope for whatever reason. And I started substitute teaching, which was kind of Sophia's idea. Why don't you do that? You'd be great. The kids would love you. My mom was a teacher, and I'd never in a million years thought that I would end up, in front of a bunch of kids. But okay, let me go do this. Started teaching. Fast forward 2 more years into it, the school offers me a job as a nutrition teacher. If you can go pass all the state exams and stuff, which I did, right away and easy, that was fine. So I started teaching, and life started to look up a little bit. Sophia and I were training and working out together. She was getting ready for some national competitions, and, her bodybuilding and fitness figure career was starting to move up. I was feeling better. We started a nutrition company where we teach people how to do healthy keto. Keto was kind of just coming on the scene, but it was all over social media, and we both had done low carb diets before and knew that it sucked, and we didn't want to do that. You feel horrible. It's terrible. Let's prove everybody wrong. And we got into it, and I ended up meeting a scientist from National Institutes of Health, and he kind of changed the way we looked at it and what we did, and we made some tweaks, and we had our own system, and the business took off, and we started coaching people, making food videos every night or a couple times a week on how to, and we would make them silly and funny. This is, keto chicken or something different, keto pizza. This is how you make it. And I would come out dressed as Luigi and just doing silly stuff.
And where were you
And
living? Were you out of your car?
yeah, so I was out of my car, and she and I were living together now at this point and renting a place. So the car thing lasted about 3 months, and it was in the middle of us working out when I kind of got out of that.
Hmm.
And again, she just kept believing in me and kept pushing. And I started working for the NPC IFBB, as I said again. So I started doing that. We had the videos and the food stuff we were making. We had the nutrition business. She had her job. She was a pediatric dental hygienist. So
Wow.
she worked with little kids and put her fingers in their mouth all day long. I said I could never do that. And it just felt like life was looking up finally. We got along. I've had 1,000,001 relationships in my life, some that I've messed up, some that they've messed up. And ours just wasn't like that. It sounds corny, and, now, especially after, but it was just good. We just worked. And people in the beginning, she and I were both concerned about the age. How do we make this age difference work? What's everybody going to say? What's everybody going to think? But in the world we lived in this fitness world, nobody cared. My family, well, is she good to you? I'm like, she's amazing to me, well, then who cares? And I think her and I had a harder time getting past that than everybody else did. But it just worked. We trained together, we cooked together, we, went on vacation together. We just did everything together. And I can't say that I've ever done that, with anybody. And she was extremely supportive. I think I was with her as well. I started training with her, coaching her, helping her try and reach her goals in the sport. And right around the time, I guess, COVID kind of comes in and hits, I don't know, it just felt like we were sort of building an empire. We wanted to get married, we were trying to buy a house, and we were at an event, and she tells me, she says, why don't you get on stage? Why don't you start competing again? I said, I'm past that. I said, I don't need some third place trophy. There's no reason for me to do that. I'm done. I like eating my chocolate and pizza and everything else. I don't want to do that. She's like, but you look so good, and you've got the potential, and I just believe in you. I know you can do it. And I said, well, we're at this event today. When we're there, let's ask a couple of the judges and see what they think. So a couple of the judges that I knew, when everything was done, I asked them, and they said, I don't know, let me take a look at you. So here I strip down, and they look at me, and they go, Nationals is in 9 weeks. Why don't you do Nationals? I said, because I don't want to go take, 5th place out of 10. I don't need a trophy. And they're like, you could win this. I said, you think? Sophia's like, I told him he could. So long story short, I prepped for 8.5 weeks, and we flew to Orlando, and we did Masters Nationals, and I took second my first time out. First time I had been on stage in 19 years. And I said, well, I guess you were right. So you believed in me, and you were right, and I was wrong. I stand corrected. And now, fast forward 4 years later, I actually just won Masters Nationals in July. So I won my class. National Lightweight Bodybuilding Champion. So again, Sophia was right on that, all along. But it just felt like things were finally going the right way. And she and I would talk all the time about how much we loved our routine, we loved our simple little life, we loved what we did. I never in a million years thought I would be a teacher, but it's the first time in my life I had a set schedule where I knew I was going to be somewhere, but I was done at 2:00 in the afternoon. I could run the other businesses. I waited for her to get off, and we'd meet at the gym, and we'd train together and come home and cook. And we just had a real basic life, but we loved everything we were doing. Um, and I remember having a conversation with her that I think there was a reason that I went through everything that I went through, and it was to prepare me for you, because I don't think that I would have been right for her or her for me or the right situation had I not been through a lot of the stuff that I'd already been through. I just saw everything in such a different light. And, I love that. I felt really, really blessed for that. I still do. And towards the end of COVID, her mom came up to visit. Her mom lived in Jacksonville, Florida, and hadn't been up here in a while with the pandemic and everything going on. And she and I were scheduled to work a show on Saturday, another bodybuilding show locally here. And her mom flew up on a Wednesday, and they went out to dinner Wednesday night. They went out to dinner Thursday night. Wednesday night was the last time that I had seen her. Friday night, we talked a little bit, and they were going to get Italian food. Came back to the hotel. She was staying with her mom in the hotel, and we video chatted a little bit and texted a little bit. And the last text message from her that night, I was telling her that I had talked to another one of the judges, and they thought that I could win my class. And her last text message that night was, "Baby, I believe in you. I love you. I know you can go out there and win the whole effing thing." And I was like, "I love you too. I can't wait to see you tomorrow." And went to bed, and she passed away in her sleep that night, and had a heart attack. And there's no reason why. The autopsy, the toxicology reports, nothing shows anything. I had spoken to a forensic pathologist who's pretty well known in New York, and talked to him about everything there. And he said, unfortunately, he said, sometimes we just never figure it out. He said, I've got an 18-year-old high school kid that died on the football field, and I can't find a single reason why, it would happen. And he said, that's what I do for a living, is figure these things out. And, in the beginning, it drove me crazy, because I wanted to know, what could I have done different? Could I have saved her? How do I have changed this? It doesn't matter to me now. Nothing. She was happy. I was happy. I don't know that if there's a reason for it, and I knew what it was, it doesn't change anything. It doesn't bring her back. So, I don't look at that way now, but you do in the beginning, because, I want to blame me or her or somebody or something, somehow. And it just shook me. I mean, to say it hit different than all of the other losses, and I've had a lot, is an understatement. Losing your mom and dad is extremely difficult. Watching my nephew and niece at 11 and 12 years old having a bullet put in their head, and dealing with that aftermath, and seeing them, in the hospital and the operating room and all that, and with my brother, and, are images that are in my head and will never, ever, ever go away. But going through all of that, and finally finding somebody, and getting to the point where, as I said, there was a time where I was done, and she just believed in me, and we clicked, and it worked. And then I lose her, and it shakes you on a different level. And I know everybody deals with grief differently, and there's not a right way or a wrong way. I'm just over 3 years after losing her, and I still cry every single day. Every single day it still hits me. And sometimes it's in the middle of the gym. Sometimes it's driving in my car. Sometimes it's laying in bed. It might be walking down the aisle at the grocery store, and I see her favorite ice cream. It could be anything. And they're not always sad tears. Sometimes it's something happy that I start laughing. I talk to her every single day. Literally, the first thing I say when I wake up, "Good morning, babe." The last thing before I go to bed, I tell her about my day. I had so many different instances right after this happened where I had friends that are Catholic. I have friends that are Muslim. I walked to the 7-Eleven over here by our house. It was 2 o'clock in the morning, and the guy behind the counter that knew both of us was Hindu, and he gave his condolences and asked, he said, do you believe in heaven? What do you believe? And I said, I don't know. I kind of struggle with everything right now and my faith and what happens. And he starts explaining to me the Hindu religion and what they believe and how. And I just had all these people that would tell me what their views were, of what happens. And I tell everybody now, I don't care what you believe, but I promise you, this is not it. This is not the end in any way, shape, or form. I have had so many things happen in the last 3 years that are just her. There's no other way. And people say, oh, I saw a robin, or no, I'm talking about lights moving, numbers popping up, literally being in bed and feeling somebody tap me on the shoulder and waking up, and it's 2:22 in the morning when I look at my watch, and I haven't even told you the 222 story yet. But just so many things that have happened over and over, and it's not just me. I tell my story to my kids at school, and the first year, so this was only probably 3 months after everything happened and I lost her. I have a beach ball sitting in my room, and it's sitting on the windowsill. It's been sitting there since I started teaching. And I'm telling the kids the story, and I'm standing at the podium, and I'm talking about Sophia and how much I loved her, and this is what I've gone through. And I tell the kids this so, they can relate and see that people go through stuff and they kind of still move forward. And as I was talking there, the beach ball that had been sitting there for 3 years rolls off the windowsill and right across my feet. Dead silence in the class. Mr. Kirk, was that a ghost? And I said, probably an angel, but yeah, that was probably Sophia. So just so many things like that. And I tell everybody, that doesn't stop me from crying, but it definitely puts my mind at ease, and if you had asked me that 5 years ago, I would have said, yeah, I kind of believe in stuff. I don't know what I believe in, but sure, okay, Now I don't hesitate, and I don't know necessarily what the right answer is. I just know that this is not it. And she's proven it to me, over and over and over again. So that's kind of how I got to where I am now. I'm still competing. I'm still doing stuff for us. I mean, the foundation and all. But that's kind of my backstory. I went through life, up until I was about 40 years old with everything just easy. And now the last 15 years, I've gotten kicked in the gut over and over and over again to the point where I didn't think I was going to get up. And now I can tell you, after having her and everything she taught me, I tell her all the time, and I speak on this, is she changed my life twice. The day that she walked into my life, I finally met the person that I'd wanted to meet and found somebody that believed in me, and when I didn't believe in myself, and kept me moving forward. And the day that I lost her, she changed my life again. And I just feel lucky for that. And that sounds crazy, I think, to probably say, but I feel very lucky and blessed to have had her.
How did she change your life when you lost her?
Well, I was very afraid that I was going to go down this path of not destruction, but kind of losing myself. When my nephew and niece were murdered, my brother, who was their father, he's 4 years older than me. My brother was my hero growing up. My brother's still my hero. But you're a little kid, and you look up to your brother, and whatever he does, I do. I tell the kids at school, we were just talking about foods, that like reasons why you eat certain things. And I said, a lot of your food sensitivities and food ideas are developed early in life. Is there anything that you don't like when you're a little kid that you still don't like? And kids are telling me. And I said, I don't like peas. And they said, peas, why not? And I said, never tasted them. But my brother told me when I was about 5 years old, he said, Kelly, don't eat those. I said, why? He said, they feel funny in your mouth. You won't like them. And I said, okay. my brother said I don't like peas, then I don't like peas. I'm not going to eat them. So 50 years later, I've never tried peas, and I'm positive I don't like them because my brother told me that. So when I lost Sophia, well, when the kids were murdered, my brother died that night too. Not physically, but mentally. Um, his his life and the life that he knew ended. He ended up having a nervous breakdown. We're 13 years later. My brother's still on disability, and he works, and he's still an amazing person. But he went from being a vice president of a repository company, making hundreds of thousands of dollars and traveling the world, to barely being able to survive. And um, as I said, there's not a right way or wrong way to grieve. So I can't look at what he went through and say, "Oh, you should have done this or should have done that," because I didn't lose my kids. I'm not in his his shoes. But I was petrified that that was going to happen to me when I lost Sophia after everything going through. And instead, here I am 3 years later, and I'm not less of a person. I'm more of a person. I'm not doing less. I'm doing more. I'm not focusing on me. I'm focusing on everybody else. It's just, again, had you told me this is who I would be 3 or 4 years ago, I would have said, nah, that sounds good, but no. And instead, I just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and I want to grow this foundation in what I do, and I want to help more people, and I want more people to experience what I experienced through having her. I was at lunch with one of my best friends. This was in November after everything happened with her. So July, August, September, October, November, 4 months after she passed. And I said, Dave, I said, I want to do something to honor Sophia. And I said, I'd like to start a business. And he said, well, what do you want to do? I said, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to start a t-shirt company or something like that. I said, I don't know. And he said, well, how about you guys don't like working out. How about like a supplement company? I said, nah, that doesn't sound like, I want something that's her. And he said, well, what did Sophia do for you? And I said, oh, well, that's easy. I said, she believed in me when nobody else did. She believed in me when I was at rock bottom, and made me realize that I could keep going and I could grow. And he goes, there you go. That's your business. And I said, how the hell is that a business? What are you talking about? And he said, that's your business. He said, you need a business where you can make people feel that way. And that spawned 222 Muscle, the Sophia Graham Foundation. So what we do is we raise money for anybody going through a trauma or tragedy where this gym, and we provide them a free gym membership, where this gym membership might be able to save their life. Like, I look at it as mine. The gym membership that I was given for her and I turned everything around. Now, was it that in itself? No, but that was kind of the catalyst. And again, looking back at all the people that I was around when the kids were murdered, when my mom and dad passed away, the people in the gym and the people that were around it were such positive influences. It was something that with Sophia I looked forward to every day. So the business, just made sense. And that's where I am now, is really trying to grow this business and help as many people as I can. And I've had people with cancer. I helped a guy that just got out of jail. I've had people, a heroin addict, rehabbed, trying to stay, medical issues, depression, losing your husband, your wife, divorce. I mean, you name it. Everybody goes through something. And, I try not to preach you have to go to the gym. It's not about bodybuilding and lifting and, that kind of thing. It's about doing something. It's just about moving and doing something. And there's, when I tell this story at different events, I would say probably 60 to 70% of the crowd will raise their hand when I say, who in here's gone through something really tough, and you started working out or exercising, and all of a sudden you realize it made your mind feel a little bit better. And about 60, 70% of the people will go through it. If you had asked me 5 years ago, I wouldn't have understood that. And now, I do. But it's amazing to me how many people that are out there that do see that.
Kelly, we have to take a commercial break.
Yep.
But we're going to be right back. So hold that thought. We want to find out where you got the 222 from, and we'll be right back. All right.
Has social emotional learning become just one more thing on your teachers' plates? Do teachers and students both find it boring and ineffective? Then bring Kikori to your school. Kikori transforms classrooms through experiential SEL activities that help students play, reflect, connect, and grow. Even better, students say it's more fun than recess. Schedule a no-obligation conversation at kikoriapp.com/bringkikori. KIKORI.
Do you ever feel like you can't say what you really want to say? Or that you're stuck or in a holding pattern in your work? So go to realtalkwithhillary.com and order Hillary's book, Real Talk, and set up a conversation.
And thank you, as always, to our sponsor, kikoriapp.com. They are an experiential social emotional learning platform. I used to call them an app, but now I'm trying to say it right. They're a platform. And if you bring them into your kids, to your schools, to your businesses, you will see the difference in your kids in terms of how they are emotionally and how they connect socially. And then my books, as always, we all have our own story. I know Kelly's been telling his. This is my story. It's the second piece of French toast. If marriage was my dream, why was I numbing myself? And this is my story about how I got from my rut out of that and into a life that I have that I now love. So if you're stuck, that's one way to get out of it. If you're someone like me, a people-pleasing pleasant phony, this book is how I started speaking up and saying the things that I was afraid to say. It really helped me. We have the Getting Real process that also I still use it, and I get free every day when I don't want to speak up. And then this, Your Bullshit is Your Blessing. This is about how I found myself like Kelly did when he was in the car on the left side of life, where everything just sucks and there's no way out. There's no reason to get out. Why bother? But then I found this other side that's fun, where, there's possibility and joy and all that. And I said, you know what if I could spend less time on the left where everything sucks and more time on the right where it's more fun? So I started finding techniques that help me. I put them in a book, and the subtitle is How to Stop Fixing Yourself and Start Having Fun. You can find all three of them on Amazon. I recommend them highly, obviously, because I wrote them and because they help me every day. So now we're going to bring back Kelly Kirk, and here he is. And I also want to say, if you want to see what he's talking about in terms of bodybuilding, if you go to his website, wait, let me just tell you what it is. It's the SophiaGrahamFoundation.org, and Sophia is SOFIA. GRAHAM foundation.org. You will see both of them. And, when I look at it, I'm like, wow, I didn't know that we had that many muscles in our body, and you can see them on them. And it's unbelievable. So you got to go there and check them both out. And now we're going to find out, how did you get the 222 muscle name?
So the 222 came about when I was living in my car. A friend of ours, Sherry, had open room in her condo, and at this point, the kind of word had gotten out that I was living by myself. So he says, "Why don't you come stay with me? You can help out around the house." Well, I said, okay. I had been there a week, and her house flooded. It was a condo. People's water heater upstairs flooded. The insurance company says they're going to put her up in a hotel for 5 or 6 months. She's like, well, you might as well come to the hotel. So the hotel has a bedroom and a suite and a kitchen and all this stuff. That's great. So the first night I go over there, and I didn't have anything. I had the clothes on my back was pretty much what I had. And Sophia gets off work, and she texts me, and she says, babe, I'm on my way to see you and Sherry at the hotel. What room are you in? And I said, sounds great, hon. We're in room 222. And she writes back and says, great, 222, question mark. Is that on the first floor? I said, no, babe, 222 is on the second floor. 122 would be on the first floor. So she gets there, and I tell her that. And we're laughing at her and picking on her and making fun of her. And she's like, it could be. There could be a basement and around.
Yeah.
Blah, blah. I said, yeah, it could. But it didn't matter. Once it stuck, that was where we went with it. So we would tell that story all the time to everybody. Sherry and I both. and give Sophia a hard time, make fun of her. So it just kind of became a running joke. Well, when I started training Sophia, she did a local show here, and it was actually the show that she and I were supposed to work when everything happened and I lost her. And she preps for the show, and I helped her prepare for it, helped do her diet, helped her workouts, trained her, all of this stuff. But when you show up at the show, they give you a little round number that goes on your bikini or bathing suit or whatever it is, and it's your competitor number. And she shows up, and her number is 222. Well, she wins the show. She wins the overall. We were like, that's pretty cool. That we always make fun of you about 222, and here it was. Fast forward 6 months later, we are in South Carolina at one of the national shows, Junior USA's, and she's prepping and preparing for that again. There's 1,300 competitors in this show. She shows up. Her competitor number is 222 again. We had prepped her and gotten her ready for this, and she walks out and she wins 2 classes, both of her classes, wins both of them. First time at a national show. And we were like, 222 is absolutely your number. This is it. So, after everything happened, I started looking at that, and 222 is an angel number and has so many different meanings to it. And we each had a dumbbell, and the dumbbell she would wear and I would wear one. And I took my dumbbell is the one here on the bottom, and her dumbbell is the one on the top. And I took her dumbbell, and she was cremated. So I had the dumbbell opened up and her ashes put in it, and it welded back together, and we welded it into this cross, and then that became the logo for the foundation.
Wow.
So that's kind of where it came from. It's a good story with the 222. I still absolutely just love that. We laughed so hard about that. And that was, she and I picked on one another. She would give me a hard time. Everybody says, when they talk about us getting along, I would say, well, yeah, we get along. I said, we have the same interest. And I said, well, we definitely have a different interest in music. I don't know who the hell Bad Bunny is, and she doesn't know who, Def Leppard is. But besides that, I was like, everything's pretty good. Well, no, I said, hold on, let me think. She loves scary movies, and I can't stand scary movies. I'll watch them, but I said I'll watch them scared to death with a blanket over my head while I do it. But it's just kind of one of those. So that's where the 222 came from, and now it's it's just taken off. And like I said, I've been literally laying in bed, sound asleep, and felt a tap on my shoulder. I woke up. Oh, what in the world woke me up? And I look around and I grab the clock or my phone. I look. It's 2:22 in the morning. I get messages from people all the time. With 222 popped up here and there, and they're like, I know Sophia was with me and she was here, and that kind of stuff. So it's great because it's an easy way for me to talk to her and relate to her, and it's an easy way for other people too. So I couldn't have had a better number, a better reason. It's just one of those good stories, and there's just so many of them between us. So she was just so outgoing, so fun, a ball of energy. We would go to shows, and I'm working the shows, and she just bounced around and talked to everybody, was into everything, and it was great. I told the story at her celebration. We would go to these things. I said she would love being here because it was all the people in our community, and I said, I'm the one, and I kind of talk to everybody's business, but Sophia bounces around and talks to every single person. I said we would leave, and we would get in the car, and as soon as we get in the car, she would be like, oh my God, babe, did you see so-and-so? And let me tell you this. And I would talk about it. And I said, we talked about all you people. And everybody laughed. And I said, don't laugh. I said, I know you guys talked about us too. So it's okay. That's what we all do. I said, we've all got thick skins. We know we're doing that. So.
All right. So tell us about the foundation and what your goal is so that people can, support you and hire you or whatever it is that,
Yep. So our mission statement is to lift people who feel the weight of the world on their shoulders and provide improved mental health through the pursuit of physical strength. We're the only 501c3 nonprofit in the country that teaches mental health through physical strength. So again, our primary goal is to raise money to provide gym memberships, but sometimes it's not gym memberships. It might be training. It might be a pair of shoes for somebody that wants to take up walking, whatever it is. The goal is to work with people who are dealing with something life changing where they just don't see a way out of it, and get them moving. And through that moving, hopefully they'll be able to, change their life and pull themselves out of it. So we raise money through donations. We have 4 different events right now that we offer every year. I have a walkathon that's coming up at the end of the month that I'm doing through my high school. We
And
have.
where are you located again so that
I'm in.
people can find you?
Yeah, I'm in Northern Virginia, so at Potomac High School. So that's actually, there'll be stuff on the website coming up in the next couple of days about that. In February, we do 222 lifts for Sophia, and it's at right now probably 24 or 25 gyms across the country, and they're going to do a series of 222 reps and workout in a day and raise money for the foundation in the gym. I'm looking to put together a black tie event in the spring, and this will be the first year of that. And then in July, we have a show, the show that she and I were supposed to work. The 2 women that host the show here locally that are friends of ours and absolutely adore Sophia, the show is now in her name and her honor. So the money that the show raises and makes goes to the foundation. Then the other way we raise money is I'm certified through John Maxwell. That was something that she had told me several times that I should do. She said, you really need to go tell people your story and just everything you've been through. And about 5 years ago, I talked to a representative from John Maxwell and kind of told him everything I was doing. And he said, man, this would be great. I really think you could, you have a story to tell. And I said, babe, it's just not the right time. You know what? I'm teaching. I'm happy. We're doing all this other stuff. It sounds good, but I don't want to do it. Well, a little over a year ago, when I told my story at school, I guess a little before that, 2 years ago, when I told my story at school to the kids, it came across a little different. It connected with the kids, but it wasn't such a sad, morbid story. It was more of a comeback story, if if that's the right word. And I just thought, I kept hearing her voice tell me over and over, babe, you need to tell your story. You need to tell your story. So I sent a message to my guy at John Maxwell. I hadn't talked to him for 2 years now. I said, hey, just want to let you know this is something I think I'm ready to do. Text me back, and he says, Kelly, knew right away. He said, I'm so glad to hear from you. I absolutely love Sophia, yours and Sophia's story. You're going to be great. Let's set up a time to talk. And I wrote him back, and I said, well, my story's changed. And I told him everything about Sophia. And he said, oh, my goodness. So I ended up getting certified through John Maxwell, which is the largest leadership and public speaking, keynote speaking company in the world. Graduated from them in Orlando a little over a year ago. And now I will go into businesses, schools, sports teams, and basically talk about leadership. But really what I talk about is growth, and growth when you didn't think it was possible. And I look at myself, my growth was mental and spiritual, when I was living in my car and at the bottom, and I didn't think that there was a way out or a way up. My growth has been physical over the past 4 years, going from not thinking, I was going to do anything to winning nationals, masters nationals in bodybuilding. Growth can be anything. And businesses, sometimes it's, sales reps that have just hit a wall and don't think, that they can get past that. Schools, it could be with kids that are, dealing with home issues or drug issues or friend issues. There's just so much. It's not always, we tend to think about that mental growth, or I tend to think about it originally in my way, growing from grief and something bad, but it's not always that way. There's growth in so many different ways. So I raise money that way, and it's great because I can go into a company and charge X amount to come in here and talk to your top 10 sales reps or your leadership team or your kids or whatever it is. And instead of them paying me and me charging a fee, which most John Maxwell people do, they make a donation to the foundation. It's a tax write-off for them, and I get to come in and bring my business and leadership into their company and hopefully, help them get through whatever they're going through. And it's just a win-win, all the way around. And people get to find out more about the foundation. So
Yeah.
um,
And
it's
how do
been
people,
interesting.
yeah, how do people find out like about your events or how to donate or what's going on? How?
The easiest is the website, 222 Muscle, or sophiagrahamfoundation.org. Also, we have an Instagram page, Sophia Graham Foundation. We have a Facebook page. Everything goes up there pretty much daily. There's stuff on there, and also on my own Instagram and Facebook page. Um, is probably the easiest way. Those are the four big events. We have T-shirts and sweatshirts and all that kind of stuff. But it's really just for me. Everybody says it's funny because people used to say they loved coming to the gym because the gym was me, my personality, and who I was and what I like to do. And I used to kind of think, that seems kind of dumb. I don't know. People like to come here because they are trying to get a tight butt or whatever it is. And there was truth to that, but now I do look back at it, and this foundation is me, and it's her. I've had so many people that have just talked about the relationship that I had with her and how we were together, and um, that's just what I try and do. It comes into everything that I talk about. I'm lucky enough that I have these 5 or 6 irons in the fire still. I teach nutrition and wellness at school. I have the foundation. I have the bodybuilding. The nutrition company. Everything ties into each other. It's all physical, it's all mental, it's all growth. And I just love it because I don't have to really take one hat off and put another hat on. I'm doing the same thing across 5 or 6 different,
Mm.
platforms, and it just works. And I'll get stories, whether it's from kids or I'll get emails sent to me or stuff online. And I had a kid last year sent me a random message, and he said, and it calls me, and Mr. Kirk, I've been following you and Sophia's story, and he said I've been struggling through some stuff, and I had told in one of my videos about Sophia getting up at 4:30 in the morning when she was doing her double days for her competing. And I would lay in bed, go, oh God, I don't want to get up. I just want to sleep. Nope. Her feet would hit the ground, and she would just go, 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 go. And he said, I've been struggling through stuff, dealing with depression and this and that. And he said, the reason I get out of bed every morning is because I think about you and the story you told about Miss Sophia and how dedicated she was and how hard she worked. And he said, I just make myself get up because I know she would be proud of me. And I love that. When I hear those stories, I know I'm doing the right thing, because I question myself every single day. But all it takes is just that one story, and I go, okay, this is the right thing. I need to keep pushing forward and doing what I do. And where it takes me, I have no idea.
So, all right, we're on our last minute and a half here.
Okay.
5 years from now, what would be your dream for this, for all of what you're doing? Like, what would just make you whatever?
I want this foundation to be $1 million foundation. And just the number of people that we've helped to go through the roof, and me to be doing that full time. I'd like to be able to just travel around the country. As much as I like reaching the kids and dealing with the kids that I have, I think I could talk to so many people to be able to do the foundation and my leadership stuff just full time, and check off the boxes that her and I had.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for the difference you're making and for keeping her alive and for, helping so many people. So thank you.
Absolutely, and thank you. Like I said, I was telling you yesterday, your second book I've absolutely loved and connected with a lot of stuff in that. So I got to thank you for the same thing.
Which one?
You were talking about yep, nope,
That one.
nope.
This one? Wait. This one?
There you go. Yep.
Okay. Oh, good. All right.
Yep.
Awesome. Good to hear.
So I connected with so much on that. So now the bullshit is the blessing is going to have to be my next one, because there were so many things that I was like, oh, I feel that. I know that. That makes sense. So I'm excited.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for watching this episode. I started getting real with Hillary when I discovered that I was a people-pleasing, pleasant phony and wanted to be more of my real self. We can grow together if you will like the show, subscribe to my channel, and share this episode with your friends and family so that we can have a world that's more real.